So back when the Dragon Ball Super English dub got to episode 110, there were a lot of complaints of the quality of the episode looking really, really bad. Very poor. There were drop frame rates during the Goku versus Jiren fight. It got really blurry, and this was an incident that happened again recently in the episode where Goku fought Caulifla. And I stated in my review for episode 110, my dub review, that I was pretty sure this was a problem with Toonami, a problem with Cartoon Network, not with Funimation. When Funimation puts out the dub, a Blu-ray of these episodes, and as well as when they put it presumably on their website for the streaming service, you're not going to have those drop frame rates. You're not going to have it look blurry. It's just not going to happen. I said that in that video, and I was correct. And we actually have some clarity now from Jason DeMarco, who's one of the big shots over at Toonami, Adult Swim, Cartoon Network. You know who I'm talking about. He's been an executive there for a while. If you saw my Toonami history of Dragon Ball Z on Toonami video, you'll remember me mentioning Jason DeMarco. Well, he recently tweeted out, and it didn't get that much of attention, so I figured I'd do a video on it to explain to you guys why the quality of the episode looks so bad. It has nothing to do with Funimation at all, and most of us, especially you guys who have been here with the channel for quite some time, we watched it when it first aired in Japanese. We watched it either on Fuji TV or we watched it on Crunchyroll, Verve, or what have you, or even Funimation in Japanese. But now the dub, why does the dub episode look so bad? Well, Jason DeMarco has, I guess, his explanation here. So I'm going to go ahead and read what he said and kind of explain to you guys what's going on and why I'm calling shenanigans on this, because there's something a little unusual about this. So he writes here on Twitter, Toonami and Dragon Ball Super fans, an update on last week's slowdown of the action scenes. Here goes. So remember the Pokemon flashing episode that triggered a bunch of epileptic episodes in viewers? Since then, TV networks have something called Harding test, the Harding test. Now, this is true. We're going to get to that here in a minute. Every show, commercial, etc. is run through this test to make sure it doesn't have flashing frames that could trigger folks with epilepsy. The last few episodes of Dragon Ball Super have had fight scenes that are cut to about 1 frame per edit in some places. They evidently fail the Harding test. Now, I'm calling shenanigans on this one here in a minute. It says here, our program edit folks who do these tests normally just slow down the cuts in these scenes to about 4 frames per second. In the case of these Dragon Ball Super eps, it made the fight scenes look insanely slow. Program Edit does this routinely, so they don't even think to notify us. And by the way, folks, what irritates me about this is there's going to be new fans who are watching Super for the very first time dubbed, who are going to think the episode actually looks like that, when you and I both know if you watch it on Crunchyroll or Verve or wherever, you're going to see it in crystal quality. And by the way, cheap plug, but vrv.co/geekdom gets you 30 free days. So quick little plug there. But anyways, back to the tweets. Jason goes on to say, thanks to you fans who let me know. We asked program to edit if there was any way they could slow down these scenes less. So from now on, they will be slower if they fail a test at 2 frames a second, down from 1. We tested it and it looks way better. So to elaborate on what he's talking about, back in 1997, there was an episode of Pokemon that aired in Japan called, I think it was Cyber Soldier Porygon. I actually have it pulled up right here. This episode never aired in America. If you've only seen Pokemon dubbed, which most of us have because they never put out double language Blu-rays, dual language Blu-rays, you've never seen this episode before. But I remember this being a big tape that was traded amongst the underground anime fans. I remember I had a copy of this way back in like 2001, because this episode gave Japanese people legitimate epilepsy. In fact, if you remember that Simpsons episode where they went to Japan, I have it pulled up right here, you see they're making fun of it. It was the seizure robots. The Simpsons made fun of this. It was a pretty big story, and I'm going to get to this here in a minute. I'm going to play a second of this, okay? Just a second of it real quick so you guys kind of see what I'm talking about. Now you see that red and blue flashing. Now I only played a second of it, so it shouldn't do anything to anybody, but when this aired in Japan, it was actually red and blue like a lot, like for a very long time. Now, when you flash the colors red and blue, if you've ever seen an old website that has like a red background with blue text or a blue background with red text, you're going to notice it pops out more. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I do know that the colors red and blue have an adverse effect on our eyesight. This Porygon episode was actually banned from ever being shown because of this. In fact, if you remember the old 3D glasses, these are the original 3D glasses from back in the 90s, they had red and blue. Why? Because red and blue gives us the illusion of 3D. That's how red and blue colors work. That's why if you look at a 3D movie now, you'll see kind of the double image, and it's kind of red and blue sort of kind of tinted a little bit. That's why. And this episode, this Pokemon episode, was a huge mistake that they made. They did not know it was going to end up like this, and people legitimately got seizures. So what Jason DeMarco's saying is that they're trying to fix that so that kids watching it on Toonami don't get seizures. The problem with that is when it aired in Japan on Fuji TV, it didn't have that problem. When it aired on Crunchyroll, it didn't have that problem, or Verve, or any of the other ways to watch that episode. Now, remember, this Porygon episode aired in Japan, so if anybody's going to be cognizant of this, it's going to be the Japanese. And they still aired that episode. And here's the other problem. If you remember the Goku Jiren fight, yes, Jiren is wearing red, and yes, Goku is wearing blue, but they're not flashing red and blue lights. So to me, I personally find it very hard to believe that people would actually get epilepsy from that episode. When that episode first aired, the Goku Jiren fight, I can't remember a single person complaining about eyesight or epilepsy. There was no story, and you know it would have been a story. We would have talked about it. There was nothing, and that's weird. Plus, in addition to that, if you watch Dragon Ball Super Broly, which is way more animation and way more colorful than anything in the Dragon Ball Super anime, you see reds, blues, greens, yellows. I mean, there's colors everywhere, and there's no issue there. I mean, I don't remember anybody having an issue with that movie either. So even though I think Jason DeMarco is correct in what he says, I think Toonami is maybe being a little too cautious with this. They're being a little bit too cautious because it's now 2 times where you've had very important episodes end up looking worse than they're supposed to look. And boy, I cannot wait to see how episode 130 looks. You know what I'm saying? The MUI Goku versus Jiren episode. That's one of the most, that's one of the most animation, intensive episodes they've ever done. So I cannot even begin to fathom how it's going to look. So essentially, I call shenanigans on this, even though I think he's being honest. I think whoever is actually checking these episodes, there's no need to lower the frame down. I think it's a false positive. I've never heard of anybody having a problem with this episode, and I've watched this episode on a 4K TV. Like, I've watched it in the highest possible quality in my living room, and there hasn't been any... No, I mean, obviously I'm not epileptic, so I can't speak for somebody who is, but I haven't heard of any problems with it. So again, to reiterate what I'm saying, this issue will probably not be on, well, I can't say 100%, but I'm fairly certain it will not be on the Blu-ray or on the Funimation app whenever they upload the dub version, because they already have the sub version on there, and again, no frame drops. This is just for the TV broadcast. So if you're out there collecting Dragon Ball Super on Blu-ray, don't worry about this affecting Dragon Ball Super on there. As far as the TV version goes, we'll see. It'll probably happen again at some point. But now at least you know, and spread this video out to those who might be wondering, why does the dub look like that? Now you know. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and hope that answers your question. I hope that everybody now has more clarity about what's going on, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. See you soon.